This is the piece of the program today that I've been looking most forward to. I think that there's a real honor in telling your story, and there's a real honor in bearing witness to somebody's story. I think that the survivors that are on our panel today have very different stories from each other, and perhaps very different stories from your own or your child's or your partner's. But hopefully you'll find moments of connection within their stories that may inspire you, may connect with you, may resound with you. And I just wanted to share my favorite bit of wisdom that actually comes from Kierkegaard. He said that life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. And I think that's really what we're talking about here. When we tell our stories, we're really making meaning out of what's happened so far, and then figuring out where are we going from here. So I hope that you enjoy hearing our survivors speak. We are going to ask each of them to give sort of a brief 2-minute introduction of who you are, why you're here, whatever you'd like to share with the group. And then Zoe has some questions that we've pre-written and shared with the survivors to kind of prep them for it. And then if there's time, we'll open up to some questions from the floor. Nicole, do you want to start? And you just need to pass those microphones.
I'm Nicole. I'm 27 now. I was diagnosed like 2-3 weeks before my 18th birthday. So right before I struck independence, I needed my parents more than ever. I had a relapse in 2012. That was Christmas present to me. And I had surgery the first time and surgery and radiation the second. Right now I'm not working. I have 2 little kids I'm staying home with. And that's about it for right now.
My name is Jamelia Hansen, and I had a brain tumor that spread to my spinal cord. I was diagnosed at the age of 14. I was just 4 months into high school, and lo and behold, I got a surprise. My treatment, I can say, was exceptionally well. I was treated very well at CHOP, and I'm here to I'm here to help you figure out whatever it is you need to do. I've graduated college. I'm stuck at the point of life after college.
I have this one.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Morgan Coots. I'm a 2-time brain cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at 2, and then I relapsed. Then the cancer came back at 4. I'm 19. I'm currently a freshman in college, and I'm living my life, and I love it. That's awesome.
Hi, I'm David Kane. I was diagnosed in 7th grade, so 5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a tectoglioma on my brain stem, and I've been doing fairly well ever since. Still, normal, trying to get the norm. In 9th grade, I had a little bit of a, relapse where I have an EVD instead of a shunt, and that grew shut. So I slipped into a coma back then, but I'm doing okay now. Everything's been back to normal. I'm a senior. I'm getting ready to graduate and move on to the next step of my life. So just hoping it goes well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So we're going to offer some of the questions and let you guys take, your time to think, answer them. And the first question, I know we just were able to hear a little bit of their story, a little snapshot of who you are. And one of the questions we always wonder is, like, when do you tell others, and how do you tell others your story? At what point do you feel comfortable? I mean, in this space we feel very safe, but in the real world, when does that happen, and how do you do that?
Okay, well, I tell others my story just whenever they ask. I've always felt fairly comfortable expressing my story to others, whether it be at a conference like this or the camp in Montana, anywhere that people would ask me about how I'm doing or anything like that. I felt it comforting if someone would ask about it, and then I was able to confide in them and talk to them about how I felt and how I was doing. And I just tell it like I'm talking normal to anyone else. It's just what happened to me. It's just another health problem. So, yeah.
Okay. How I normally tell my story, it comes up in many different ways. And it comes up really in everyday life, even when I'm not expecting it to. One main way is I have a tattoo on my ankle, and it says hope. And the E is the gray ribbon. So a lot of people see that, and that's how, like, one reason, like, it just comes up. Or sometimes it comes up in, like, a conversation, like, we're talking, and someone mentioned something, and I was like, oh, well, that's because of this, or something like that. A lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but when I used to work, it came up when people would mention my hair. They'd be like, oh, why is your hair so thin? And then I would have to go into detail. And even though that's not the greatest way, I learned to accept it, and I love my hair, and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's also another way something would come up like that.
For me, it's situational. In the past, like for school and schooling, I would say I had to make it known so that I can get the accommodations I needed. But now it really doesn't come up unless there's a situation where I need to ask for, or I need to explain, or it comes up in a conversation, or it just comes up randomly I'm just talking to people, and there's a reason for me to bring it up, whether it's for experience or just conversation.
At first, I was very frank about it. I didn't even get how serious it was, really, because I was senior in high school and I was like invincible. So when people ask, well, where are you going? Because I said I wasn't going to be in school in a couple weeks, they're like, I'm like, oh, I'm just having brain surgery. Now I understand that that's not so much the way to go. I do have a tattoo that most people see, and that's how it comes up, but I also usually go by situations like the others. When I stumble into a wall, I'm like, I wasn't drinking before work, I swear, I just have balance issues. I usually go across with a joke because it's much easier and much more relaxing for me to go across with a joke than it is to be like, sorry, I have a brain tumor.
I think you brought up a really good point about how you use humor and cope, and everybody uses kind of a different way. So what are some of the ways that you guys have found to be able to share this sometimes difficult journey with others? Are there any ways that you found that you deal with it specifically?
Well, one thing, like, obviously you don't come up and you say, like, hi, my name is Morgan, and I had brain cancer, like that kind of thing. But, like, obviously, if you really trust that person, well, for my main thing, I think you need to trust that main person to really tell them. Like, I don't tell just anyone, especially now that I'm in college, I'm meeting all these new people. It's, like, the real people that I trust. And if you want to tell them, you kind of got to ease into it, not, like, directly. Or if something comes up, then maybe that's why. But that's, like, one main advice I would give to someone.
Like she said, I don't jump right into it. When I stumble, I say, oh, I have balance issues. Like, I kind of just give little bits here and there. And if I feel like, you know, there's a need to go in deeper, I do. If I feel like, you know, that's somebody who's, you know, very trustworthy that I'm going to wind up talking to about this, like, I maybe give them the whole story, but it's not like walking up to somebody and be like, hey, I have a brain tumor, how are you? It's not really something you just blurt out like that all the time, but it is something that's easier to get into than you think.
Yeah, like when people ask me about it, like, I don't really get asked as much as, you know, you think I would or something like that, because I'm very fortunate with my tumor. I haven't had any very bad, like, repercussions or anything. My cognitive functions, I'm still okay with that. I still look pretty normal. In fact, even when I tell some people, like, they don't believe me. They say, there's no way you have a brain tumor. I mean, it's like, yeah, I do, and, you know, I go through so much. But really, in times I find myself telling other people, like, is if they're struggling with something, like, it's like, hey, it's always can get worse and it will always get better. Like, you know, you can be down so low, but that's how you know you were high, when you get that low. It's always going to get better, and you have to, like, that's what she said about laugh about it and stuff. Like, at first, obviously, when I was diagnosed, my family and myself, we all went through, depression and all that, but, you have to get out and live every day like it's not happening or it could be your last. I don't want to say that, but you have to live that way because you can't just sit around being depressed or you will have no life at all.
I have to jump on that. Now, as a survivor, most of the time it comes up as a source of inspiration to help others. Just a little word or something, there's a reason to be grateful.
And what would you guys say is the best advice that you've gotten through this?
I think like the best advice I got, and actually I kind of made for myself, is that my disability has shaped me, but it has not defined me, and I live by that. Because even though I might have balance issues or it might take me longer to remember something than to most kids, that even though that I have those issues, it's not going to define me, and that's not just who I am. I'm not just a brain cancer survivor. I'm a lot more.
Some of the best advice I've had is, it's not even like advice really, it's just being here and watching everyone, like I've gone to the camps, the camp in New Jersey, Happiness is Camping, and then the Teen Huck, just being there and seeing how everyone, no matter what their problem is, can still be so happy is just incredible. Like the people I've met through this foundation and all the friends that I've made are like, this community of survivors we live life so much happier because we truly have to appreciate it. And other people don't get that because they don't have that life-threatening experience. We're the people that really, we really understand how precious life is.
I mean, I would say probably being told to take it easy and be slow about things. My neuro-oncologist, she's always yelling at me. She's like, can you slow down for 5 minutes? And that's something that, I've been given advice about that numerous times. It doesn't always stick. But I think we tend to, stop and look at the sun a little better and stop to look at kids playing at the park a little differently than some other people. Some other people are in such a hurry. And we kind of understand a little better about, how that goes. And that it's not just move, move, move. Sometimes it's just sit back and watch.
Relating to what she just said, I'm a person, I've been told to relax, sit back. My doctors would say, you need to take a break. I've always been like, let's just do it. And at times I do sit back and see what I've gone through, and like it's been said here, you just gain an appreciation. You're here. Put things in perspective.
And I think that goes on the point that Tara just made about that post-traumatic growth. And one of the things we think about are what are those, sometimes we get that silver lining, or what is, some gift that you've been given through all this. And you said through the bad stuff, sometimes are those silver linings. And I want you guys to just see if there was anything that through all this has kind of been a gift for you.
I learned today, in the quote that was said this morning, I have a voice, and I'm going to use this voice to help all who need to hear it. And if you don't want to hear it, I'm going to still help you if I can. It all goes back to the perspective that you gain after going through what you do. It's like the globe is turned around, and you just you appreciate life and the community you're in and whoever's around you, your family. There's no other way to put it but just appreciation. And in my case, the ability to walk and to talk after 3 strokes. It's about appreciation and just an enlightenment, if I could use that term.
Well, my silver lining has been, like I stated before, all of the incredible people that I've met ever since this happened. And the things that I've done, like Make-A-Wish, you know, that never would have happened without having this. But like, it's like pros and cons. My pros list is 1,000 times higher than my cons list. I mean, my cons list are, I have a headache every once in a while and I worry, and then I have to go get an MRI. It's not, like she said, you have to appreciate what you have so much more. Like, honestly, you know, me and my mom were talking about this the other day. Like, if I don't know what kind of person I would be if this didn't happen to me. Like, it changed me so much for the better that if we went back and I was asked if, you know, if I would take this tumor away, like, of course I would take it out of my body, but I wouldn't want to take away all that I've done, the incredible people that I've met through you guys, the foundation. I would never want to take any of that away, and it never would have happened if I wasn't diagnosed.
Same here.
My silver lining, kind of same thing what you guys are going off of. I wouldn't be who I am today if what I went through had never happened. I think if I didn't go through that, I would take things for granted. I would think of things differently. I wouldn't be the actual person I am. And it would just be totally different. So I would never change anything. Of course, I would, like, obviously the tumor, I would never want the tumor. But, you know, like, the whole experience of it has made me who I am. So I've never changed it.
It's kind of changed my point of view a little bit. Like, my self-confidence was a little lower before the tumor. And now when I have, like, those days where I'm just like, my life is horrible, I sit there and I'm like, I can do 2 kids. I can do a jog. I used to work a couple days a week out of the house. I list all the things I can still do. I'm like, I'm pretty bad. I can do a lot. Like, this is pretty awesome. 2 tumors later, I can still do all this. That's pretty good. I feel like crap right now, but I'll feel good later. I mean, before, I would have just been like, sitting in the chair, nah, I'm good. I'm not going out today. Now, it's like, no, I will get up because I have a better appreciation for the fact that I can even get up.
I think you guys are amazingly positive, and I wish that I could bottle you up and bring you to clinic for our newly diagnosed families, because I think you have such a message of hope and optimism. And I'm not trying to take it down a notch, but my question is I think there's probably a lot of people who are here today that are struggling with whatever it may be they're struggling with, health, depression, anxiety, whatever. And I'm wondering if you guys can speak to, and I see, Nicole, you're jumping at it.
Because you think I'm being, like, hopeful. This is a good day. Catch me on a bad day. I have sat in the chair. I have decided that I'm not getting dressed. I'm not going out. That I cannot take the crap from my brothers about stumbling one more time. And they mean well, but they're just joking. But some days it just gets to me. And recently, I've even had a lot of bad days. I've been to my doctors to get it addressed, and I've dealt with my husband, who has no idea what to do. He's like, I'm lost. I can't fix it. And you know, guys, they want to fix everything. But sometimes you just have to let yourself be miserable. You were dealt a crappy hand. You have to deal with it, and some days it's just okay to be miserable about it. And if you're having a bad day, you just tell whoever's around, parents, siblings, whatever, I'm having a bad day, leave me alone. Just leave me be today. It's okay to ask for space. It's okay to have a miserable day. Everybody thinks that you're supposed to be like perky and awesome and so appreciative every day, and that's not how it is. That's not even close. Everybody has bad days, even people without brain tumors. And I don't think they have any reason to have bad days. My mom says she has a headache, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So, I mean, we hold ourselves to like such a higher standard that we're not allowed to be upset about this, that we have so much to do. And you are allowed to be upset. You are allowed to have a bad day. You are allowed to not want to be around anybody. You are allowed to cry, throw things. I mean, you're going to have to clean up later, so I don't know if you want to throw things, but you can. It's acceptable. I think a lot of people think it's not.
And that's exactly my question. Thank you so much. And if other people want to speak to that too, sort of what have those really low moments looked like for you and meant for you, whether it was during treatment or afterwards, and how have you gotten yourself out of it?
I think we should all have hospitals just create break rooms, and when you get upset, just go in there and break something. But
I like that idea. Can we get on that?
I think in the past, and still now, we have your ups and downs, there are a lot of low days, but there are a lot of good days. It's all about the support that's around you. Whether it's in your family, your friends, you can actually find support out of the weirdest situations. I mean, if something is bothering you, something in the cases that what I've heard today, even the bad things can help you get over whatever it is. When you can look back and see what you've gone through, that can just press you forward. Support and however you can get it, whether it's religion or in church or friends or a band, or that's what you need. And yeah.
I'd say, like, I agree there will always be some kind of, like, bad day, either when someone was going through treatment or after. Like, occasionally I'll have, like, bad days, but, you know, like, you always get through it in the end, because you know that you have made it, you are a survivor, and you've been through all that, like, all that tough part. So even this isn't that hard, even though it might seem hard. You know that you have been through a whole heck of a lot harder. So when I know I'm going through something that's, like, really hard, I know I had been through something that had been 10 times harder. Like, I could do this. So I always remind myself when I go through something like that.
So we have about 20 minutes left, and would like to open it up to your questions. We have mics stationed throughout the room, and we have time for quite a few questions, actually.
You guys were the best speakers of the whole day. Poised, mature. And I'm very, very impressed by all of you. Here's my question, and it's like a little personal, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I want to know what dating's like.
Horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I thought that before the brain tumor. I lucked out. I married a friend. He knew all about the brain tumor before we got married, before we even dated. He was best friend beforehand. So that made it a little bit easier. For anybody, it's hard to put yourself out there. For us, it's even harder. We have a little more of a personal standpoint. I would say it's probably easier to go into it slowly like you do when you're meeting new people. You don't know if you're going to be dating this person 5 minutes from now or 5 months from now. You don't have to tell them everything right up front. You don't have to tell them you have a brain tumor on the first date. You can ease yourself into it. Give yourself room. And, I mean, it's not a big secret. You're dating. Oh, no. Talk to your parents. They can give you dating advice. It may not always be good. It may be like 60 years out of date. Just kidding. Just kidding. But dating's the same no matter who you are and what your problem is. On some level, it's still the same.
Okay, to go along with what she said, is it like The Fault in Our Stars at all?
No.
Okay,
No, it is not.
Now my real question. What was it like for you guys going back to school and stuff? I know it was pretty difficult for me.
When I went back to school, I was very fortunate. I have a really close friend group, and like even the teachers were real good to me. So when I went back in 7th grade, everyone was extremely supportive. Everyone wanted to know what happened. Everyone, you know, came up, gave me a hug, and said, "I'm glad you're okay." And then when I had the coma in 9th grade, everyone was even better because everyone was that much more scared. And actually, I remember all my teachers, like the whole school, they collected a donation to help like get food and stuff for me. So my mom, when she was going through all the stress with me, she wouldn't have to cook and stuff like that. So my peers and the teacher, they were so supportive of me. It was great.
I can attest to that as well. My school was one of my great support systems. I mean, I was literally 4 months into high school when I was diagnosed. This was a school where you start from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I really didn't know anyone, and the support system was just awesome. I mean, I went to school when I could, and I kept up with my education through the accommodations that they made for me. They did raise funds for me to have private tutoring, and I would do some schoolwork when I was in school, and I mean, to this day, I still am in touch with some of my teachers. I'm so grateful for how they helped me and accommodated my family. I mean, I just had such great support, and it's unfortunate when you cannot get it. So, I mean.
Well, for me, it was a little different. I never really had the opportunity of, like, school and have the old teachers and stuff, because I was very young when I was diagnosed, and then it came back when I was 4. So I was very fortunate to have one good friend that, my best friend, Nicole, we had been through everything, and even though, like, when you're young, you kind of have friends, but they're not really your true friends, I knew who my best friend was that day, basically, because she would come to the hospital every single day. We make arts and crafts together, She also helped me re-walk. So I never had the whole school and the teachers thing, but I had something a little bit different, and that was mine.
Well, I was just starting my senior year of high school when I was diagnosed, and when I came back, I really didn't go back to school much. I was already set up to be in the work experience program where I would leave school at 12 o'clock every day. That teacher was really cool. He's like, I know you're not working, but you're going to do some book work for me, and we're going to call it a day. I didn't go back to work until March, so he worked with me until then. But the classes I would have had in the morning, I had a tutor for English, and then I had one class that was study hall and another class that was ROTC, and I would just go down there and basically hang out all morning. I didn't do much of the typical senior and high school things. I mean, I got to prom, but that was about it. Graduation.
That's awesome.
See, even high fives take coordination. I don't have that.
You did it.
I did.
Hooray. I have another question. How important to you, if at all, is being in a community of other survivors, whether brain tumor specifically, or cancer, or serious illness, or other sort of significant thing like that? And if it is important to you, where have you found that besides today?
Facebook. I belong to a Facebook survivor page, and we are constantly on there. I don't even like Facebook anymore. I tried to delete it, and I went back to it just for that Facebook page. Because to me, having people like me who understand that you have headaches, but there's nothing you can do about it, you just want to sometimes complain about it. And sometimes it's a good resource to get other people's input. They're constantly on there. I have this going on. Did anybody else have this going on? I went to the doctor and he said this. Does anybody have experience with that? It's very helpful because, I mean, your next door neighbor's not going to have a brain tumor unless you got a weird coincidence going on. So to have somebody somewhere to talk to is good, for me, at least.
Would you be able to share the name of that Facebook page in case there are other people who want to be on it? You'll get back to us.
There's several of them. I searched like brain tumor on Facebook and like 5 of them came up.
If somebody else wants to
jump in. You go ahead and talk while I'm
I believe part of the reason I survived was to help go back into the cancer community and be an advocate, because I remember being in my room just saying, I wish I had someone I could talk to about it. And my goal is to find a way to give back through advocacy. I just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, I have a really close friend. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and they had to take out his colon. And I live in a very small town, so there's not a lot of kids walking around with brain tumors. There was one other girl in my school that had one that wasn't as serious as mine. But me and him grew really close, and we both doctored up at Children's in Pittsburgh. So we've grown extremely close, and we, you know, talk about our illnesses if we have a problem with that. And he's one of my good releases if something like that happens. So if you can find a good friend, that makes all the difference in the world.
Same here, like my town was very small, so it wasn't like anyone had the same kind of thing I was going on with. But it's still like really important to me, like especially when I go to like camp in Montana, to have someone there just to like relate, like, oh, you had this, oh, so did I, like just that common thing, to knowing that you're not the only one out there, that you're not the only one that has this kind of disability. So it's really nice to have that kind of like reassurance, and you can just talk to other kids that are exactly like you.
Yeah. The page that I have is Brain Tumor Talk, but I know there are several others. And the one that I'm on, Brain Tumor Talk, is also their parents, their survivors, their siblings, their spouses. It's not just survivors on there. So when I put on there, I am having some serious trouble with the brain, somebody else may comment on there, oh, my husband was just complaining he has such a headache. And I'm like, all right, it's not just me. So, I mean, you get not just people like you, but people who somewhat understand what you're going through. And it's a good resource, not just for the survivors, but for the family.
Thank you.
I think my husband also belongs to his own. We have separate ones.
That's probably a good idea. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share that you were hoping we might ask? Any parting words?
I just want to say, never give up. There is hope. There is hope.
Interject with another question.
I just had, yes, is this on? I had a question specifically for the three of you who are sort of already out of the house, and then the one here on the end who might be going out of the house next year. Have a little vested interest in that. Of how it feels to think about going to college, or how it felt when you left home, where you had your family member hovering over you with eyes on you all the time, watching you, and then to leave and transition to being responsible for your own health, responsible for your own concerns about symptoms and that sort of thing. How did you feel? How do you feel? Thank you.
I'll be honest, I didn't leave. I'm 2 blocks away. My dad still takes me to all my appointments.
I love that answer. I love that answer.
Daddy still takes me to all my appointments. I call my parents whenever I'm having a bad day, because I have 2 little kids, and when I'm having a headache, screaming at the top of your lungs is really not beneficial. So I will call my mom and tell her, you know, if you want your grandkids to survive till tomorrow, please come up here and get them. And 2 blocks in another direction are my in-laws. I really didn't go anywhere. I didn't even want to look out, because before I had my brain tumor, I was all about leaving the house. I'm going to college. I'm getting away from here. As soon as I had the brain tumor, it was like, I guess I'm stuck. Your mode kind of changes. Not everybody is so gung-ho about getting out. They think that's what they're supposed to say, but maybe that's not what they mean.
I never left. I'm still there. I still live with my parents because that's what it is. And I am very grateful that I have my mother, my father, my brother, and everyone around to help me. I mean, I do maintain, I coordinate on my doctor's appointments and whatnot, and I'm grateful that I'm still home, because I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the opportunity to stay home. And when I went to college, I went to college a few blocks down from my house. I went to St. Joe's University. And I had a roommate who was just, I took the opportunity to go home when I didn't want to deal with her insanity. So, I mean, it was a safeguard for me, but I wonder if I had not had my parents right there, what would my experience be?
Well, I'm a freshman in college right now, and I do live there. So it definitely was a transition because, like, you know, in high school you get all those accommodations and your parents get to talk to your teachers and you don't really do anything. You kind of sit back in the corner and, like, watch. It was, like, different in, no, it's not different in college now because I have to, like, advocate for myself more. You know, I'm emailing my teachers, I'm talking to them, you know, and it's very convenient. I'm very close to home. I'm, like, 45 minutes away. But it definitely was a transition. But luckily, I have made I made great friends that are there too. But it definitely was it was a little bit. It wasn't like hard, but you know, like the learning is definitely different because I'm not in smaller classes. But I have adjusted to it very well.
Can I address that? My son left for college 8 weeks ago. It was so much harder for me than it was for him. You have to realize that you're raising a great kid, and he knows what his limitations are, and they will figure it out. Now, of course, he's 45 minutes from home, which was his choice, but made me happy. But the adjustment for the mother is tenfold worse than for the kid. It needs to be a seminar.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, because it's true. You look like a bright, smart kid. You know what you can do. You know what you want to do, and you will advocate for yourself. Because if your mom is anything like me, and I know she is, you have taught him well that it's all about your voice.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so she's going to cry and drink for like weeks. I assume you have at least one glass a week or a night. And he's going to go on and he's going to be all good. So don't worry.
Let's exchange numbers.
Absolutely, absolutely, not a problem.
So I think we'll end on that note. I just want to thank all of the survivors for being so brave and so authentic and so open with your stories, and thank you all for being such a great audience. You know.
One more little thing to add to the survivors on that one. It's acceptable, even though if your parents are the ones taking you to your appointment still, to kick them out of the room if you want to ask something private. I do it all the time. I'm not asking about my sex life in front of my dad. I'm not asking my doctor anything about that. I'm pretending that I don't do it. So when we go and I have questions like that, I say, Dad, yeah, it's time for you to, you know, visit the kids in the waiting room. And he gets the hint and he goes. Or last time I even warned him before we even went to the appointment. I'm like, Dad, you're not staying for my appointment today? He goes, yes, I am. I said, no, you're not staying in the room. He's like, oh, okay. He doesn't want to hear it either. I guarantee you your parents don't want to hear it either. They don't want to know. They pretend you don't do it. So if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, kick your parents out. They'll leave most likely. If not, sorry. You could try.
And parents, if your kids are too nice to kick you out, you can kick yourselves out too.
You can get a drink or a snack. You don't have to stay.
All right, thank you guys so much. Let's get a round of applause, please.